Hello everyone, thanks to the power of the internet, I gotta talk with you all, and I would like to submit a formal apology. I showed off a deck list. It was bad. It was also very rushed in the matter of making, where I used, Cardfight Arena, and entirely botched that video. So I want a redemption. So, in the video, I showed off this Maelstrom list. Now, after doing a few more test hands with it and stuff, no, excuse me, I made a major mistake. I said Dancing Cutlass over here was a red herring. Because I was off the copium, let's call it, of Flow Strike Brave Shooter. Now, while this is a very okay card, very good for what the deck does, yeah. I don't know what I was cooking. So we're immediately going to remove these and add in Dancing Cutlass. Now, you might note, this is only 3. So we're going to have to make some more cuts. So let's look at everything big picture. What is actually needed for this deck, and we're going to slightly build it together. So obviously, we need all 4 copies of Maelstrom. Not because we need to ride it as our Vanguard, we have Glory for that, but because Glory gives your abilities to, the base Maelstrom to ignore PGs and Sentinels and whatnot, while also giving it power and gaining its ability. Which is why we need to play it to call it. It's basically our 1-2 combo. Which is why, once again, I apologize to Dancing Cutlass. Because I don't read during reveals, or at least not too much in depth. This says, when it's discarded from hand during your ride phase, so it's another cycler for you, which you desperately need card draw in this deck. But also, during your main phase. Now, for those of you who don't know, this gains the act ability of your Maelstrom. What does your Maelstrom's act ability say? Once per turn, discard a card from hand. Meaning, Dancing Cutlass for EB3, so what you get every single turn, is a cycler that is always live, basically. And not only that, if you remove 2 other cards with the same name from drop, you countercharge, which is something you can go through this deck a lot quickly with. So, what are we going to cut for the 4th Dancing Cutlass? Well, originally, I added C-Voice Brave Shooter because this deck does not run a G-Zone, meaning this can potentially be like a 10k, 15, or 20k shield, depending on if you're fighting strides or not. But also, if you remove 2 from the ride line, you could search for a grade 3 that wasn't your Vanguard. This was in the essence to get base Maelstrom or the set order. Well, after more playtesting and some more serious games, Alcriniz here basically does that already, meaning C-Voice Brave Shooter is redundant, so we're going to get rid of her. And that gives us our 4th and final copy of Dancing Cutlass. Now, you might note that we're 1 card short. Well, we're going to do some more editing here, so give me a second. So obviously, once again, 4 copies, 3 persona, obviously must keep. As I said before, Alcriniz here is totally vital to the survival of this deck, is a must include. Dancing Cutlass also must include because it's always a live cycler, but what we need a little bit more than what we're getting there because you need the card draw, and discarding too many of your pieces feels incredibly bad because you only get like 1 or 2 revive. So, what are the free pieces we have currently? Well, we have Tidal Assault. You don't really need him out of 4 of, because he's a Soul Blast to give your Vanguard 5k when it attacks, but at the end of the battle this attacked, if it is the second battle, you can stand it. as long as you have a Maelstorm and Counterblast 1. Okay, that's pretty cool. There's some things you can do here. As you can use the inherited effect to discard a card, choose a unit with only Aqua Force, which obviously he's an Aqua Force unit, or Tear Dragon. So most likely you would be calling something out. Like Alcrin is, because he's grade 2 Tier Knight. But Tidal Assault isn't always needed. So for at the minimum, we'll say cut it down to 3. But what is the other key piece? Well, here's another brick, but also essential piece. This is our set order. If you don't know what it does, when you put it into the order zone, you activate all the effects. You choose up to one card with Aqua Force or Tear Dragon from your drop, and you call it a rare. Then you can choose another rare card and give it plus 5k for every other Judgment in the order zone. I hate that. I wish it was just 5k for every Judgment Maelstorm. And with actual glory, you can rest 2 of these to be able to give your base Maelstrom Sentinel restrict when it swings. If it is the, I believe, 4th attack or more, let's go. Go reading. When your unit with Maelstrom and its card name attacks, rest 2 in the order zone, and your opponent cannot call Sentinels from hand to guard until end of turn. Yeah, so it's just whenever it attacks. So it can be the first attack, the last attack, whenever. Now, if you're really paranoid, you can play all 4, but we want to get incredibly greedy with what we have in the deck. So I would say at least remove 1 of them. And then I don't... Why can't I spell... So there are a few cyclers you can use. This is Love Binding Mating Margaret. I suggest if you're going to play her, only do 1, mainly because you need a lot of soul for the consumption of Wheel Assault, who is a more important piece. But however, we have our Energy Lad, if I can find him real quick. I just remember his name. Shooter. Yep. We have Sea Rumble over here, who is a Counterblast or Energy Blast. I enjoy doing him more outside of the fact he's an Aqua Roid, so he's also a revive target if you're incredibly desperate. Which also would activate his on place on rear if you Persona Road to call back something else as long as it's not Sentinel. So we at least want 3 of him in there. So like first turn, if you're forced to go first, you can discard literally anything for some free advantage. Now, the other thing I included was this Regalia, Bracing Angel Ladder. Why? Because you drew a card, got soul, and gave protection. You know, I still appreciate what this card does because, one, if you get a field blow up, that's basically it. Because for maximum quality, you revive 2, but that is playing a Judgment Maelstrom from hand, reviving base Maelstrom, so Glory can inherit his effects to then discard 1, so you've gone -3 to call 2, where you just need a lot of presence to get up to those 4 or 5 attacks. So another thing I can recommend is the new Regalia that just came out. Because the Fire Regalia can be played from hand or drop by removing it. And then it basically is, look at top 5, call a card that is less than your Vanguard to rear. Well, when you're on grade 3, that's literally any single card. So you know what? That's pretty good. So you can run that one, or you can run BLA, you know, Bracing Angel Ladder, because they're both incredibly solid cards. Now, a tech choice that I decided to have is Consort Strike Brave Shooter, and I still agree with this, because if it's just behind your Vanguard, the first attack will always get plus 5k until end of turn, not the battle. So let's say, first turn, you swing with Tidal Assault because he can restand from the called effect of, Judgment Maelstrom. Or not this one, from the revive effect of Maelstrom that you inherit. So for CB1, you can restand it, swing again, activate his effect to CB1 again to restand him. Well, that would mean he's the first swing, so he gets plus 5k. That's nice. Now he is 15. He restands, swing again 15. So if your opponent doesn't hit a defensive, you're always hitting good numbers. And then that even stacks with base Maelstrom, or Glory, because as long as your soul or your rear has Maelstrom, which it always should for the overall peak gameplay, your front row gets 5k for each. So let's say it's the first turn. You have one Maelstrom, Judgment, and you have Brave Shooter behind Vanguard. So when Tidal Assaults, it's actually swinging for 20k. And don't forget, this isn't restricted to anything except having a Maelstrom Vanguard. So in theory, this can swing 20k when your opponent is grade 2. If you really want to get the full value out of this, doubt it, the lines look a little bit worse. Actually, no, it doesn't. When you play Judgment Maelstrom, you can revive anything. Let's say just Elkerness for the fun of it. That means Tidal Assault swinging 25k. Actually, no, never mind. Once again, I'm thinking this card is better than it is when you can choose another one. But doubted that is the point. It can swing 20k when your opponent is grade 2, and can consistently scale off of that. And even if not, this means if you miss a persona, and you have somehow bricked on seeing Judgment Maelstrom Storm, you can always at least hit, which is a great thing. Now, there's another card you can play. Grade 1, Stoicheia. It is a Siren. Because if you notice, Shooter and Dancing Cutlass all require energy, which can very much add up. So instead of running Brave Shooter, you can also run Battle Siren Altheferia, who's just on play from hand. Energy charge 2, meaning if you play 2 of these things, well, you paid for one of your Cycler and some. Which means you could have wiggle room to Energy Blast from 9, 7, draw a card, go down to 2, play this, have 4, play another one, have 6. You've kind of stabilized yourself. But more importantly, at the beginning of your battle phase, if you have a Tier Dragon Vanguard, what you do, Soul Blast, which is why, again, I'm saying the Soul's very important. Choose one of your units, it's the van or the rear. When this unit attacks, this unit gets plus 5k until end of turn. So note how it kind of is just Brave Shooter, except at the beginning of battle. It's just a Soul Blast cost, which is why I like Concert Strike Brave Shooter a little bit more, even though this, for some reason, is a 7k booster. Why? I couldn't legitimately tell you. But all are good options. I still believe in this trigger lineup, draw triggers, mainly because you choose where the power goes, and you get card advantage, which is something desperately this deck needs. Outside of shield value, so I guess there is a world. No, I'm still looking up Siren. Where you could run a front trigger, but you have to keep in mind, because of cards like Wheel Assault, which swaps positions, which is also Elkerniz's ability to swap positions, the front trigger will only give power to the units currently in the front row. Meaning, if I have Brave Shooter in the back row and Elkerniz in the front row, and I swing with Vanguard and hit a front, Elkerniz is getting the plus 10 from the front. When I use his ability to swap into Brave Shooter, he will not benefit from that 10. The reason why this is different from Persona Ride is because Persona Ride specifically says your front row continuously gets the plus 10k. I haven't play tested around with this because I didn't find the need to, but if you are very soul conscious that you won't have enough from just persona riding and riding up, you can also run a Rothian. You know, this is our soul front. And also, it's a tier knight, so it really fits the aesthetic. But once again, in this variant, you're only soul blasting occasionally for title assault. If your opponent gets a trigger, or you think they're going to, you can blast out one, which sets your Vanguard up quite nice. Because if it's plus 10, it becomes 23, plus title assault soul blast now becomes 28, which is a trigger and something to stop. However, what you will mainly be using your soul for is wheel assault over here to do some swapping. Now, this is a deck I am more confident in showing, and that will get you results. So if we save this, and we'll just go into single play. Let me adjust my screen. Let's go first. Ideally, you're going to tell your opponent second. We're actually going to keep a trigger and throw back title. I know this sounds really weird. I'm also going to throw back Bracing Ladder Angel, because I don't know off the bat if my opponent is playing a retire deck. If this was the Fire Regalia, I would keep it because it's a free discard. Alright. Don't be me. Don't have this be your mulligan. But because we're so flushed on Alcroniz, we'll drop and ride. When this unit is rode upon, so I gotta wait a turn, so that ends the turn. You want to be a little bit defensive, but not overly, so let's just say I guard here, so I don't take damage, and the main phase. If I draw into my 4th Alcroniz, that's a really good card. Alright, another Alcroniz hits the drop. This is not a good hand. I don't... It's always when I try to do something fun for these videos to show it off, does Vang Pro just say, you don't get good playable hands. Alright. But the effect of my grade 1, I now get my Blue Storm Armada. Guaranteed. It's at the top. How funny. Alright, add that to hand. Do a little deck shuffle. Hey, but guess what? When this unit is placed on rear, if you have an Aqua Force only, it activates its effect. And it helps you rush a little bit. So we're going to call Alcroniz. Alcroniz's effect to look at top 7. I can grab Maelstrom, or I can grab the set order. So we're going to look at top 7. Ooh. So I can grab a future Persona ride, but the thing I truly need, because I do not have it currently for my Maelstrom turn, is actually base Maelstrom. So we're going to add that to hand, and then we're going to deck shuffle. Now, if your opponent is playing something that retires, don't commit your wheel assault. You need this fuck. So what's really going to happen, if they're not playing a retire, just to offset a little things, we're just going to call him here for a booster. So when we move to battle, swing, let's say they take it. Perfect, we needed that. Swing, they're going to take this. Alright, they're going to swing. Let's say I take 3 for the cost of one of my heals. So now I'm not going to say one of my heals, so we're just going to take 3 anyway. They're really rushing because they see Aqua Force, which they should. Alright, we're actually in a pretty good position. So we are going to discard our little boy for Energy Blast 3 to draw another card. But more importantly, we ride into the big boy himself, which activates Algos when this unit is rode upon. Look at the top 7, choose any Aqua Force or a Tier Dragon, call it a rear. So once again, look top 7. These are all good choices. This is really funny because this is Clan Grand Blue, not Aquaforce. So we're actually going to call Tidal over here because he's really good. We are going to follow this with an Alcroniz. We are going to commit Maelstrom. Actually, we can keep this in hand. We'll be greedy. Mainly because this is going to activate, which we'll call one from drop. Could be anyone. Hey, look, his on place happens. We're going to look at top 7. Yeah. We're going to get that consistency going. That is the order. We need to play him, so we're now all set up. And note the fact I do not have to activate his once per turn, and now everything in my front row gets +5. So, power. My front should get +5, so even if I swap, he should get, oh well. We'll just give him individual power as it goes, which will make things a little bit more awkward, but that's fine. So as you see, we have a really solid board right here. And I can explain more of that right now, because this doesn't have to be boosted, right? At the end of the battle, if you have a grade 3 Vanguard, yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to move to battle. He's going to be our first attack. Our opponent's grade 1, don't forget. So he swings. He's going to activate the effect to counter blast 1, and he's going to switch positions or choose one of your rear guards, and it swaps with this unit. So we're going to choose the other one, who once again, because I have Maelstrom back here, he's going to get +5. He gets that rest, though. Hey, look, it's now the second wave, second attack. So Alcroniz can attack. We can Soul Blast. I recommend doing that because, hey, look, Alghost is a pretty good card when you call it, because 4th attack or more. If you doesn't have to hit, it will get +5k for just existing, and then if it hits, you draw a card. So that's really cool just to have set up. And now power +5. Hey, guess what? Counterblast restand. We're cooking now. Alright. Now we can swing again. Sorry. Let's do it where power actually shows. And now we have options. So note how we don't have any Dancing Cutlass shown up, so we're actually going to use Wheel Assault. So we're going to Soul Blast yet another card, and now you can kind of see why we need so many. We swap any cards to positions. So that's how we're going to do this. And now... Oh. Sorry, buddy. You're not... You're big. You're not that big. Alright, now Maelstrom can attack, and don't forget, we've had 1 attack, 2 attack, 3 attack. So, currently, Blue Storm Maelstrom is attacking for 4. And if you remember, when my base 1 attacks, if it is the 4th battle or more, I will draw a card and retire one of my opponents. So, technically, this is going to be a 23 as well. So, let's do our first check and second check. These are all really nice and steps up our turn 2 very good. Assuming, let's say, our opponent hits a defensive. So this can just swing to a rear. And this can get power +5 from the effect. Hey, retire something and draw a card. So now we're pretty good because that ends our turn. And we had about 6 attacks. Not too bad, considering. The thing that would really break this is if we could intercept from back row as well, like Magnolia. So let's say it's now our opponent's turn. Foolishly, they decide to get rid of our Maelstrom because we have infinite ways almost to revive him. Okay. We got PGs for days. We want to actually hold on to Dancing Cutlass. You'll see why. We can intercept with Tidal. Give a shield. And PG. Alright. And we'll take 1 damage. Ouch. Alright, so that ends my opponent's turn. Now it's our turn. And now we're starting to actually get the Dancing Cutlets up, so if we actually heal the 1 in damage, we're pretty good to countercharge. But sadly, as you can see, we don't have anything to really extend... Oh wait, but we do. So we're going to play this, which calls back our Blue Storm Maelstrom, which activates the effect still of Drudgement. Because there's another one, something can get +5. I'm going to make sure he gets it, but I'm going to move him to front row first. Pretty cool, right? Well, now that we have a base Maelstrom again, we can activate its effect. So we're going to discard a card from hand, right? And then we can choose something with Aqua Force or Tear Dragon, call it, and if my opponent's grade 3, which they are, if it's the first attack, I can CB1 to restand. Get back up there. So we can do Tidal Assault again. We can do Algos. But I want to be really cheeky, and I'm going to call Alcriniz just to have a full board of him and to activate his top 7. Because deck thinning is winning. So we're actually going to take that to hand just to Persona Ride. So now, basically, these Algoses are interchangeable. We'll say the one that got +5 is over here now. Because this one can now attack from front row and then restand. So now we're doing pretty good, I would say. You do go to Energy Blast 3. So how will this turn go off? Well, first of all, I get a discounted Persona Ride because I get Sometimes this game hates me. Because I get +5 for each set order I have in here because of my lovely little Maelstrom. So now let's begin the battle, shall we? So we can swing with our Alcriniz. We're going to Counterblast 1, restand him. You don't have to. We got plenty of other ways to do this. But I'm just being cheeky. So we're going to swing again, and this time activate Alcriniz to swap positions. Funny enough this is 25. So we've already swung twice. Well, he's not locked to anything, and we've got a pretty decent board. So, you know, let's swing. Our opponent can guard or not. So, first check, second check. Not the worst things in the world. So that was 3. Hey, so now we can swing with this. I don't know why he's not getting +10 from that. He gets +5 from, you know, Maelstrom activating his effect. And because it's attacking this turn, draw a card and choose one of my opponents and retire it. So I will draw a card. I would have loved to have checked a trigger, but that is fine. So I believe this actually gets an additional +5, but if not, we'll just say it's 36. But guess what? We can rest these. I don't know how to do that here. And now my opponent can't use Sentinels, which really sucks for them. But now I can also do, hey, we're going to Soul Blast 1. Note how we still have one. And we are going to exchange these positions. And he gets the continuous from Maelstrom because I got a lot of +5s going about. And then I can just swing with these as normal. Hopefully this kills my opponent, but if not, I'm sitting pretty nice. Let's just take a look at top 10, I guess. So I would have hit a defensive, which would have made my nice life a little easier. Sadly, I drew most of my heals, so me checking any of these probably was never going to happen. But this feels so much more cleaner. I'm in so much more love with it. As you can see, this just needs to be in the back row to activate its first, so you can't do the swapping I was doing over here. But it only has to be there to activate its auto once, so then you can swap it from there with something in the back row. Go wild, go ham. But yeah, I was entirely wrong about this deck, but now I've seen the true vision. Now I can see this thing actually being a rogue deck and topping. Listen to the wind. Don't be like me, so headstrong, thinking Dancing Cutlass is a bad card. It's not. I apologize. I jumped the gun on that one. But yeah. Hopefully you are all able to make it through my ramblings. You can see this update. There are probably plenty of deck lists you can see. Here, we'll exit out of here so you can take a look at the deck one more time while I'm just rambling. Like I said, this is really good. You can still add a little bit more of your customization. Like I said, I like Bracing Ladder, but you can also run the Fire Regalia. You don't have to run Shooter. You could run the Energy Charge, Battle Siren. Hell, you could even cut out more Tidal Assault if you wanted to add yet more Energy Cycler or the Soul Cycler, because stunning your opponent on a Persona ride's funny. You just can't search her out a Reviver, which is... And as you see, the Soul was pretty sparse, so keep that in mind. But yeah, if you made it past all my mad ramblings, thank you very much. Now please, go forth and win